concepts that
Seriously.
are kind of broached.
Seriously.
I
Seriously.
actually think like I think
Mm.
overall we probably have the same stance, but definitely
Okay.
initially my take was like a little bit different, you know.
Okay. Okay.
So I
What's
did.
your?
I saw your take, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, James. And I was like, we got stuff to talk about. Um, so here's the thing, and I
Okay.
think there's a lot that goes into it as far as like their past relationship, Jada and Will, and everything, and that's a whole another segment to it because it has such effect on like Will's psyche, and he's been kind of humiliated in the public eye for like years now with that whole thing that's going on between Jada and August, and I don't know the other guy's full name, but I just know
Yeah.
his first name's
I guess.
August,
Yeah.
but one of uh, Jaden Smith's friends, basically, right?
Mm.
Um, but so that definitely has an effect on the man's psyche and what he's doing. But I think so from a base standpoint. First of all, I didn't think that the slap was all that like rough, right? So it took me actually to the next day to acknowledge
Mm.
that no physical assault, is wrong and it shouldn't be allowed in circumstances to,
Oh, okay.
to
I
fully
see.
because just something about the way it was done, the way it was handled, and then the whole concept of defending a loved one and not allowing someone to talk ill, right? And
Mm.
so with that regard, and it comes with a bunch of caveats because first of all, the joke did not warrant that response. You know,
Agreed.
there was
Agreed.
no well, not that we know of, but like there was no history of like previous harsher jokes or anything. There's no like build up. It was just like a one off, and it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah. Yeah.
very mild one. So to have that like I don't want to say nuclear, but like that type of response to that, right? It's like not right. But initially when I saw it, everyone was having their takes of like, oh, how dare he punch him, or physical assault is never okay. And I'm just the whole time I'm thinking, but I swear you guys are stands for people like don't you want to be defended in a relationship, aren't you like if someone just like lets someone walk over their girlfriend or
Yeah.
whatever, aren't
Yeah.
they not a man? Is that not what you want,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whole like counter thing, like how are you don't want it now though when it's
Oh,
exemplified on
yeah.
that stage.
That's an interesting angle. That's an interesting angle.
And so
Mm.
I'll get more into that in a little bit, but so from the fact, and also it was the fact that like it was such a swift like slap, right? And it
Mm.
seemed so not under the table, not in jest. Like it was a serious slap, but it wasn't meant to have like a confrontation, you know?
Mm.
It was
Mm.
like a almost like taking off your glove and slapping somebody, challenging them to a duel, right? It
Actually,
was like
that's actually what it looks like. It really
it
looks.
was like you that's disrespectful,
Yeah.
Here's a physical reprimand, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he went and sat down. And then he
Yeah.
escalated
Yeah.
like, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. But I've heard that before. Not like in that this is like one of the ultimate examples of it. But I've heard that sentiment before, where people like keep her name, that's my wife, keep her name out of your
Mhm.
mouth,
Mhm.
So something about the and I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want like there's a lot of factors to look into it because he is like it's just rich people doing their thing. He's not supposed to be a standard, and when you look at it, it's obviously an awful standard, like you said. Like there's blinders everyone has because they see all the good he does and the good roles he plays and everything and the good messages he sends. But when you look at it critically, they have an open marriage. A lot of the foundation of that is baseless. And there's other things, but so what I want to say is that I feel like it takes a lot of courage for anybody, and this could just be him high on power and high on wealth and high on celebrity, but it takes a lot of courage to on a stage like that, knowing everything that it means, to still get up and defend it and not have it be blown off, right? I don't think that was necessary for that scenario, for that joke. I don't think it warranted it. And I also don't think Jada deserves it. I don't think she's someone that is worthy of that stalwart defense. I don't think that's a relationship that's worthy of that defense. But I would hope, in my core, if someone had disrespected my wife like not like that because I don't like that. I don't think that joke warranted it. But if there was some serious disrespect going on, that I had the courage, no matter what platform, no matter how many people watching, that I would go up and put an end to it, you know. And that's maybe my own past and everything. I've had some different things where I've done something similar, or in high school. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, I guess, roasting culture. I don't know if you grew
Yeah,
up with that.
absolutely, absolutely,
Okay. Yeah,
absolutely.
it's kind of prevalent, right? It's kind of everywhere. Your boys give you
Oh yeah,
crap for stuff, and it's hurtful when it comes from people that aren't your boys, right? But a lot of
for real.
times when your friends do it, it's more so in jest, but it can be taken too seriously, or if it's just repeated, right? So, um, yeah, there were times when like we were made fun of or something, me and Julie, when we were like in high school and everything, and I felt I'm not the most quick-witted, silver-tongued guy, you know. I think I'm good, and I'm funny and everything, and I can talk to people well, but I'm not very quick with a response all the time as far as like a roast or whatever. So when I'm like the target of it, or anything, I felt bad, and I felt kind of powerless in that scenario. I'm not going to physically confront somebody because I'm bigger than them over a
Yeah,
joke, especially if it's my
yeah,
friend when they don't mean it, but it
yeah.
still hurts, right? And I
Oh,
specifically remember seeing some tweet or something in that time that was like, if you don't stand up for your girlfriend, if you let people talk trash or whatever, you're not even a man. Like, what are you even doing? You know?
oh, yikes.
And so I don't know if I internalize that a little bit or whatever, right? But I
Yeah, yeah.
see that, like, that split right now, right? And it's
Mm,
like no one has that same energy right now, you know?
mm,
And I think there are a lot of cowards in the world. I think there are tons of people that would not stand up for their wife or their significant
mm,
other,
mm.
no matter the disrespect, you know? Despite the size, despite all of the variables, they wouldn't even mutter a word because of social stigma, right?
Mm.
If there's any more people than them, than the man and the wife in his room, if there's one other person, two other people, five other people, they're less and less likely to actually say like, "Oh no, you know, I don't appreciate like, you know, stop that. Like that's my wife you're talking about." You know.
Mhm.
So for me, it comes from a place of that. Like I think not many people are actually willing to stand up for their significant others like that, and it's necessary in some senses. You know, there was one time in high school, and I don't know if this is before or after I saw that, but I did start trying to be more like I care about this person and I want to
Yeah.
defend them, their honor, you know? Not just let them, especially like, but not just when they're looking, you know? Make sure behind their back too. Like, don't let people just do that behind their back too, you know?
Mm, mhm.
There was one time when I was at a football meeting during lunch, and I come back and she's all worried and like acting weird and anxious and stuff. And apparently, someone who was her ex for like 3 months or whatever, they were hanging out, or I guess around the same friends or whatever. But she was just sitting down, and I guess he was like he touched her hair or something. It was a
Hmm.
very weird thing, but it
Okay.
clearly creeped her out, and she was clearly upset about it. And so
Mhm.
I was like, "Where is he? You know, where's he at right now?" And she was like, "No, you like, you know, just forget it. It's stupid." And so I went up to him and I like told him to stand up, and I said like, "Hey, you don't get to touch her. You don't get to do anything like that to her. Like that's, you know, that's my girlfriend. That's my, you know, that's my lady. Like you can't do that." That, and
Mm.
I it was very stern with it, and I love that I'm super tall and I could like intimidate like that
Oh
because I
yeah, I was
was
gonna say
definitely
that,
looking
that helps a
down.
lot. That helps a lot. Uh,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, you know,
make sure
big
you practice this.
football player and everything, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah.
no,
That
don't do
really,
that.
yeah, that really,
That doesn't
yeah,
fly. You know, that's not how
mm,
this is going.
yeah.
Um, that's probably like the one time, but something just came up. I'm like, no, I need to take care of this right now. You know, and it didn't end in a physical
Yeah.
confrontation, but I was, you know, I wasn't gonna shy away from it. I wasn't expecting it. You know, I was trying to use my words, and they worked. You know, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, Tim, I'm actually, I really appreciate you coming from the angle you have because I feel like everybody that I've actually listened to since this situation has happened has either, it might be D.L. Hughley or some other comedian or actor that maybe they were in a past relationship or they don't really respect women at all. And so it's very easy for them to kind of have an opinion because, they're not in a loving relationship. They're not really protecting anyone. And and even though I will say that Will Smith is completely out of line, especially with the type of influence he has. Like I said, literally around the world. I mean, there's people who
yeah,
don't even speak English that know his name. Um, but yeah, when you I'm going to say with the scenario you just shared, that is called for.
Yeah.
That is necessary. That is something that needs to happen. Even if you're shorter than the guy, hey, next, please don't put your hands on, you know,
And that's the
at all.
thing too.
That's not
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. It's no, but yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, as far as the will thing, I mean, I mean, you see my video, you know where my thoughts are. He has a lot of influence, and that was completely, inappropriate. I do admire the fact that, yeah, as a husband, he does want to defend um, his wife, and you and I, we've talked about the fact that they seem to be in an open marriage, and one of the jokes that has been circulating online is the fact that it's okay to apparently, sleep with his wife, but you can't talk about her hair,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
He
which
is
is
getting
like,
destroyed online. There's tons of
oh,
memes
oh,
going. Twitter
oh
had a
yeah,
field day. There's like
yeah, yeah,
tons of
yeah.
jokes being thrown around, and that's what's hard and what made me reevaluate because it came from a core response for me because of those reasons, right? And I
Mm,
still feel like that to this day about certain aspects of it. But when you look at that situation specifically, there's no right answer for it. You know, the
really?
joke didn't warrant it. The relationship doesn't warrant that defense. And they're foundationally like, yeah, you say like, oh, that's my wife, like, but it's like you're not. It's not like a sanctified marriage. It's an open relationship. It's not what foundation. What is that? They're just
Yeah,
two people making it work, and maybe I'm, and part of it too comes from I when that whole thing came out and she said she was cheating on him and they had that basically embarrassing him all over line online and it was rough to watch, and I'm like, why would someone ever stay with someone after that? Or, why? What is the purpose of that? Like, I didn't understand it. I have a different understanding of it now. Sometimes you just like love someone enough where it's like you know, that relationship is there, right? And it takes heaven and high water to move it, to separate it. For
mm,
better or worse sometimes, but as far as like loving someone else, if that love is deep enough and you both trust each other enough, and people are human, people make mistakes, and things can be moved past. But
agreed, agreed.
um, in that scenario, so now I'm at the place where I can kind of more see why he did that, why he didn't just outwardly leave. But from the
Okay.
sense of like he's come out more recently saying like, yeah, no, we just have an open relationship now. Like that's just something that's like that's you lose me like
Yeah, it doesn't
completely.
help. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
it's just,
doesn't help.
it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. And then yeah, having that defense, that outrageous like reaction over this infinitesimally small joke about it, that doesn't matter at all, and going to that extreme, it just there's no connection there, you know.
I agree. I agree.
And there's definitely something to be said. I think comedy needs to be protected. Like people should be able to when it comes to comedy, like yeah, that's like you just need to put your social like yourself aside and let the person do their job. Like don't take it so seriously, don't take it to heart too much. But
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
there's a range, right? And that wouldn't even be perceived as like in the range of like in
No.
anyone else's opinion.
Yeah, yeah. It's one thing if he was talking about what they're doing in the bedroom. Then it's like, okay, hey man, hey,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's just her hair. It's like, hey, okay, and it's just and it's one thing I find interesting is that a lot of other comedians and a lot of people are basically insulting her now, and so I'm wondering like, okay, now what does Will do? Because
Yeah.
now you have multiple people, you know,
Well,
that are outspoken, and now everyone's saying something now. Bill
well,
Maher, you name it.
that's the other thing too, is because the online and in-person environments are so different, right?
Mm.